Okay, hi. So I'm going to be making a video discussing Monday's lesson and just kind of the things that I learned while I was on Zoom, and things that like I noticed and just kind of an overview of like the class in general. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about was the module wrap up of Module 2. And some of the things that I really picked up on while like in class was we we watched Brittany's video explaining like kind of the things that she learned from Module 2 and things like that. And because I didn't get to chat with the buddy, I thought I would just chat here. But the thing that I really enjoyed was she talked in depth about activating students' prior knowledge. And I think that this was something that we learned a lot about in Module 2 specifically, and just about how important that is to kind of like get their minds starting to move and like starting to think about certain things and just really getting them ready for the lesson that you're going to be teaching them. So I really enjoyed that she talked about that and like went over how important that was. And I thought the rest of her video was very interesting as well. I like how she used the little like focal eye as her like artifact. I didn't even think about that, but I thought that that was a really good thing to sum up the module as well. Another thing that I thought was really interesting from the module wrap up was the puzzle piece. And I liked the sentence that was up at the top that says science and science learning is like a never-ending puzzle where we keep getting new pieces. A naive idea gets replaced with another naive idea. And I thought that this was very interesting because I remember the question that was asked during this like time and when the picture was being shown was, what do you think that naive is? And I was sitting there thinking, and I could not come up with a definition for naive. And for some reason I just like I couldn't think about it. And so then I came back to like review slides and stuff before I made this video, and I stumbled across this slide again, and I stumbled across the word naive again. And so I'm sitting here and I'm trying to think about it and like, what does naive like have to do with like this puzzle and science? And the idea of naive in general is, I think it's more of like being unaware of something, not, or like being at very much of like the surface level of something and not digging like much deeper into it. And so this might be like totally off base or something, but this is just kind of like what I'm thinking is like this puzzle is made of like idea. And sometimes the ideas are dug into and like really try to figure out and like things like that. But like the way that I'm seeing it, if I think about naive, the way that it's defined is, or at least the way I define it, it's we're not digging enough into this stuff. Like we're not figuring this out enough. We're just kind of like, oh, this is a cool idea. Let's put it with this cool idea and this idea and this idea. And then they're all just kind of like stacked on top of each other. And then it just makes this big puzzle of naive ideas. I don't know. That's just what came to my mind. And as I'm looking at this, I don't know. As I'm looking at this, it's interesting, but I don't know. That's what I really liked about that quote was like I could sit there and like think about it like for a majority amount of time, and I couldn't figure out the right words. Another thing, moving on, that I really liked was the introduction to this new module when we're talking about like hot and cold water. This is around the time that I had to log off. So I watched parts of the Zoom that was posted, and I've looked at like PowerPoints and stuff like that. But the thing that I kind of related to when I was reading this, I read it and I chuckled. It's when we're talking about Wade's bath and trying to keep it no higher than 105 degrees. Our older bathtub has separated hot and cold water handles. I have to keep alternating between hot and cold, but never seem to get it right. Then I tried adding cold water first and then hot, and it took forever to get to the right temp. I was wondering why it took so long. I thought this was funny because my parents' house is the same way. Like, you can never get your, like, water to the right temperature, if that makes sense. I don't know. I thought this was also just a really good way to like get into our first activity or our first experiment with the baby jars and the hot and cold water. I'm really excited to do that. I think that'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a really interesting experiment. I don't know. I don't know what happens. The guiding question, what happens when hotter water is below colder water? I don't know what happens when you flip them over. I guess we'll find out. But I think this is going to be a really interesting module. And I can't wait to figure out what's going to happen. So yeah, thank you.